I want to show you a cartoonish video of a Trump official talking out of both sides of his mouth. And then I want to have a serious conversation and actually try to talk about facts. This is video of Donald Trump's Secretary of State, Mike Pompeo. He went, or Pompeo as some call him, he went on ABC's This Week over the weekend with Martha Raddatz. And during 30 seconds, this is 30 seconds, he said, yes, coronavirus was man-made. No, coronavirus was not man-made. This is the same guy. This is the same day. This is the same interview. This is the same 32-second segment. Completely incoherent. Take a look at this.
It was man-made or genetically modified?
Look, the best experts so far seem to think it was man-made. I have no reason to disbelieve that at this point.
Your Office of the DNI says the consensus, the scientific consensus, was not man-made or genetically modified.
That's right. I agree with that. Yeah, I've seen their analysis. I've seen the summary that you saw that was released publicly. I have no reason to doubt that that is accurate at this point.
Now, I have no reason to disbelieve it was man-made, and my office is correct that it's not man-made. That is direct conflict, okay? If you haven't been following this, Donald Trump and others have been talking about whether coronavirus, instead of simply coming from bats, jumping to humans and then spreading, if it might have been a project of a level 4 biosafety laboratory in Wuhan, China, and could have escaped because of a mistake, or maybe it was even released deliberately like a bioweapon. Now, there are some fringe conspiracy theories that insist that it was a deliberately released man-made bioweapon. I'm not even going to take that seriously because there's no evidence of that. There have been some reports that have jumped to relatively mainstream corporate media, which say it's being looked at, not whether it was man-made, but whether it was naturally occurring, but was being studied in the lab and through an accident came out of the lab. Okay. Now, I just want to make sure we're clear on the possibilities we're talking about and the ones that we are not. So the possibilities are this came from bats and was transmitted in public through natural means. It came from bats, was being studied in this lab and was accidentally released. It came from bats, was studied in the lab and was deliberately released. It was completely man-made, but released accidentally. And then, of course, it was completely man-made and released on purpose as a bioweapon. I'm only talking about scenarios 1 and 2, which is if this was being studied at this lab, it was released as an accident due to a mistake. The reason we are even having this conversation is because there actually have been some reports saying that this is being looked at. Countless scientific sources have already identified that it is of natural origin. That wouldn't preclude it from having been studied at this Wuhan lab. And that's the reason that we're bringing it out. Now, what is a biosafety level 4 lab anyway? What we're talking about is the Wuhan Institute of Virology. This has been around since 2015. Biosafety level 4 is when you are working with easily transmissible pathogens, which can often be transmitted via aerosol and which can cause human death if a human is infected. Often there would be no treatment or vaccination if a human were to be infected. That's the level lab that they have in Wuhan. And there's a whole bunch of other technical requirements if you are level 4. So my position is, before we know for sure, at this point, it appears that this is a naturally occurring coronavirus that came originally from bats, transmitted in public. I'm open to the idea that it may have been a pathogen being researched in this lab. If we have evidence of that, then we'll take it more seriously. As of right now, I don't believe that that was the case. I don't believe it was a bioweapon or released on purpose. But here's the serious thing to consider, okay? If this was something being researched in this Wuhan lab in China, and it was released accidentally, it changes nothing of Donald Trump's response to the coronavirus. If it was completely naturally transmitted, the United States and South Korea had their first cases within hours of each other. South Korea handled it properly, and the United States did not. South Korea's death rate is 5 people per million. The U.S. death rate is 210 people per million. You didn't mishear that. Our death rate per population is 42 times that of South Korea's. So if this was mishandled at the Wuhan lab and accidentally released, that must be researched, that must be dealt with. And within China, there are already fears of a backlash like the one seen because of the Tiananmen Square incident. We'll talk about that on the bonus show. If that's the case, there will be backlash. We all know that. But it doesn't make a difference in terms of evaluating Trump's handling. If it spread at a Wuhan wet market, Trump's response was terrible. If it came accidentally being released from a Wuhan level 4 biosafety lab, Trump's response was still terrible. It's a very important thing that we not allow the story about the source to distract from our federal government's failed response and from Donald Trump's constant lies and attacks and smears as a result of the virus. We'll follow the story. We'll take it where it leads us. It does nothing to make Donald Trump's response anything but completely abysmal. Privacy.com is one of our sponsors, and they're giving you $5 just for using their free service at privacy.com/Pakman. Privacy is a service I've been using for a while now. I love it. It saves me a bunch of headaches. It's completely free, and it's very quick to set up. And here's how it works. When you pay for something online or over the phone, instead of exposing your real credit card number, Privacy lets you generate virtual card numbers. The payments are withdrawn from your checking account, but your real card number stays completely private, and you do it all with one click. You can autofill the card number in your web browser, on the phone. You can create 12 virtual cards a month. You can set spending limits, freeze them, delete them whenever you want. I especially love it for free trials where you need to give a credit card number, because I can destroy the virtual card number as soon as I give it to the company, and I know I won't be charged in the future. If you're ordering food over the phone, why do I need to give a restaurant my real card number if I don't have to? Companies don't have to know who you are. Your real credit card number is protected from the data breaches that happen, unfortunately, more often than we would like, and it's completely free. They do have a paid version with different tiers where you can create more virtual credit card numbers per month, cashback rewards, extra security features. But go ahead and sign up for the free service. It's a no-brainer. Companies can't charge you unexpectedly. You're protected from identity theft. It costs you nothing. And Privacy is giving you $5 to spend just for signing up when you go to privacy.com/Pakman.